January 14th. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes as mailed?
Move it.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Discussion and approval of the claims. Are there any discussions and or motion on those claims?
Move it.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Item 4 is the Human Resources Memorandum of Personnel Transactions. I'll pass that around for signatures. Is there a motion on that?
Move it.
Second.
Discussion. Those approve indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Pat, authorization of chairman to sign the HVA election equipment annual certification. Do you have anything to present on that?
Yeah, we just moved to receive, to authorize it, chairman to sign. It's just a certificate saying that we still have this equipment that we purchased with HAVA funds that we haven't sold it.
Okay, all right, who would want?
Jail if we don't sign it. That's that.
Is there a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Now the
What could we get out of it?
Not very much.
not a big market on it.
The next one is the,
Discussion and decision on space for the courthouse.
anyway, what we talked about previously was the, oh, here it is. I'm asking permission to take all those 2 areas down there to move election equipment down to the basement of the courthouse. The space that we have up there at the Eagles Club, we have about 3,400 square feet up there now.
Are you using all of that space now, Pat?
Yes, it's tight where we're at right now. Yeah. There's a hallway that runs down there that is about 10 by 60 feet, and that's where we store all the cases and stuff for the equipment. And then we have 2 rooms. One is a equipment room, and the other one is what we call our absentee precinct. That's where we actually count all those absentee ballots. And those are about 1,160 square feet apiece there. It was just a big room that was split right down in the middle. Maybe 2 rooms out of it. One's for the equipment, one's for the absentee precinct. So that's about 3,400 square feet. The 2 areas that have been vacated in the basement are about 4,300 square feet, but they're not nearly as efficient because there's columns all over out there.
Oh, yeah.
Take up some room. So, and there, over in where social services was, there was about 2,500 square feet, and where city assessor was, that's about 1,900 square feet. It would be, we would love to be able to move down there because right now, during the election, there's usually bad weather, and we're running back, staff is running back and forth all the time between those 2 offices when we're doing the absentee and equipment. So it would be much more efficient for us if we were able to use those 2 areas in the basement.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I'm not opposed to it. I think we're just a little too early right now. I think we've got some things we're going to be talking about in the basement. And,
Like what?
well, it's not been decided yet.
We what?
It hasn't been brought up yet, and I don't feel at liberty to bring it up. But I would, not be above giving you one of those spaces down there, a couple, 3 weeks from now.
Well, I don't know why you couldn't bring it up. I think we have an opportunity to look at space, let's say, and I know why you don't want to bring it up, but our cafe is open. We do have room there maybe to possibly move food service down there from Prairie Hills if at some point in time in the future we decide it's more efficient, more cost effective to close that building. So I would hate, and then which means we would have to probably create a lounge area for our workers if they should require all that space. And and maybe it's premature to bring it up, but that's why I think you know, Pat, I don't mind you moving down there. Can you take half of it? I mean, I just think we need to have a good amount of spacing, you know, can you do stages? Can you,
I'll talk with Steve, but I would at least take one there for the absentee area, because that's where we do all the running back and forth. If we leave the equipment up there, then I'll have to talk to Steve about that, because that.
right, and may never come to fruition, but once again, you know, we make these decisions without possibly looking down the road at our next decision, so I guess I would be hesitant to jump too quickly until we look down the road 5 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it might be, and then determine. So I don't know. I don't want to
You're
give
looking at
up. I don't want to give up
more
all the
long-term
basement
planning on it.
without a long-range plan of it, I guess. And it may not happen, but it may. I don't want to move you once you get down there. Say sorry, you're out.
Which
Yeah,
space
it is.
do you need? The
David?
auditors? Would you rather have the auditor's space?
The assessor.
The assessor's space?
I think, Steve, you have an idea of what we're talking about? Why don't you come up here, Steve?
If we're just gonna be moving the absentee portion, yeah, the assessor side, I think would work better for that.
And probably be better too if you're considering using some space from where the old cafeteria was, because we weren't talking about that.
Okay, and I didn't even know if we would need to go into old social services. You know, we may want a conference room. I mean, it could be anything.
Right.
You know, it may not be that. It could be something else. So I have no problem, and I think we could probably do the assessor's office, but I do. I think that would work, if personally.
So how many square foot did you have, did you measure out the square footage in the assessor's areas, Pat?
The assessor's office has about 1,700 square feet, and I think we could make the absentee precinct, because that's where we store. Besides the absentee, we also use, that's where we do our computer training, or those computers that we just started to roll out into the precincts, the laptops, that's where we do our training.
So how much, that would free up 1,700 square feet in the old, I keep calling it the old Eagles Club,
Well, that's 1,160 feet up
over there.
over there. That's about 1,200 feet in each one of those rooms.
Okay, okay.
But that's, if we were wanting to move anything, I want to move that, because also it's a more secure place for our absentee ballots, because we're constantly, we get the mail, we run it there, and then we run back and have to worry about security.
Right, I think,
So if we did at least the city assessor side for the absentee precinct.
Sure. Okay. David, what's your,
Well,
Position.
for sure, give them the assessors, but it's news to me about Prairie Hills that you guys have been talking about it, apparently.
I only brought it up. I was on the committee to study it 5 years ago, and I do know the main reason we didn't move it was because of the cafeteria. So in my own mind, I don't know if I've really talked about it. I talked about it today as to why I wouldn't want to commit to all of it. But it could be it could be a conference.
You were on a
room, too.
committee.
I was.
You were on a committee to look at that use of that facility anyway, but that's off the topic a little bit. But it plays into the overall
does.
long-term plan.
Okay.
So,
That's
okay.
it.
Mark?
Well, as long as the long-term planning ends up to stable, I'm fine with it.
Well,
Well, it would have to come back, I think
Right.
there'd have to be a committee and, we'd have to just decide what we want to do, because even if we move Pat, then we have that space to look at. It just makes sense that we need to
absolutely.
look at our space and be thoughtful about it and plan ahead. We may need to do CIP with it. They're just,
But for now,
planning.
I don't
But for
think
now,
that
I
there
think
needs
it's a
to
good
be a
idea.
long-term plan to make a decision on the space that you're talking about, Pat. The use of that space is possible. It's empty now, and we do have the flexibility to accommodate. And it would seem to me that it would make your operation a lot more efficient if we could pull that out of the old. Yeah, it would make it a lot more efficient. So I would support you pulling that portion of it and putting it in the old assessor's area, Pat. because it would make it more efficient for your election operation.
Need a motion?
That would be leaving all of your voting equipment up there.
Right.
But the training and everything else would be done.
Laptops and everything would be moved down to,
It could happen there.
That's adequate for that.
yeah, that would work.
Okay. Is there any further ideas, discussion on this? James, do you have an opinion?
James Bergen, Taxpayers Research Council, 516 Nebraska Street. I'm just curious, is there going to be any remodeling costs or anything like that to move down there, or are you just going to?
Not for, no, just for billing services, just for transfer and stuff down there.
And as you go through your long-term plan, it'll be interesting to see if you end up moving all of this stuff there, what are you going to do with that, the Eagles Club building?
Right.
So, those costs. And I don't know if there is air quality issues or if not, I don't know if those would make a difference, or if the county has any plans to fix those issues, if that would be in the way of what you're talking about as
Well, what
well.
I've read in the paper, James, I'm okay.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Because if there is something that wants to be done construction-wise, I hate having you have to have all that stuff moving around second
Right.
time. So, long-term plan would be great to see, so. Do you have any idea when you might have a long-term plan put together?
No, we don't. I think that those are issues that Brent brought up here now publicly. I think we have to get through the budget process, James, and determine, where a lot of things are going to be in the county. I think that we probably will have meetings into 2014 to determine the use of areas in this facility and also in the Eagles Club, and also in facilities in other facilities that we have too, what kind of use that's going to take place. So we'll have the long-term planning like we've had in the past. We've had them, as you know, at the Nature Center, and those will be topics of those discussions.
I hope that it's a lot faster than that, because if Prairie Hills is being discussed as a possible budget item to move items around there and departments, then I think this whole plan has to do with the budget this year. So going 8 months down the road probably isn't going to fix your problems now. You really need to have a plan in place sooner than later if Prairie Hills is an option to close. And move
James,
it
I'm
from
not
there.
sure it's going to take eight months, but we like to be thorough, and I know that it seems like a long time, but to be thorough and to be correct in what we do and not spend money, in the wrong kind of a way, we're gonna go through the process.
Okay, well, maybe I shouldn't have used 8 months. My point is, you're gonna have your budget done in a couple of months, right? And you would hope that some of these items have to do with your budget and this long-term plan. So to put everything together before your budget's over makes a lot more sense than after your budget's done.
Well, we have to go through that process because I want everyone to do their research. I want everything, we talk about transparency and the public knowing what we're doing. They get the opportunity to know what we're doing.
And I guess I think if it takes longer to come to a better decision, then you leave the budget as is, and you look at it more long-term than short-term, because,
Prairie Hills might not happen this.
well,
way.
it may not, but.
Right. But
I don't
when we
know.
It might never happen.
It might
How do-
not-
how do we
never
know
happen,
until we get all the
but-
numbers in?
But when we went through the process, a number of years ago, I keep bringing this up, when we had the overcrowding problem in the jail, that took more than 8 months. We went through a public hearing in all of the small towns in the community so that they could talk about and voice their opinions on the use of Prairie Hills, and that took time. Obviously, I think that was the right decision to make because we did have a waiting list, and we have to go through that process again.
Should we be constantly doing planning every year instead of, oh, maybe we should do this and now we have to come
No.
back and come up with a
We
plan?
do, we do. We, as you know, we've had our.
In a public setting?
Of course, and then you've been at those public hearings at the
That was
nature.
3 years ago. You're not doing it on an annual basis.
No, it's been
You're not keeping-
shorter than that. No, it
Has it?
hasn't been. Yeah.
Well, last year we did
James,
Yes, sir.
you were at a lot of meetings, and there's so many red herrings out there now, thanks in part to you. You were here when we discussed moving mental health. You were here when we discussed moving the city assessor. Now all of a sudden it's a big surprise in the last month. you know, how long do
You bought that building 2009, right?
right?
And now it's 2014, so 4 years, 5 years later, and now you're finally moving on it. It doesn't seem like there was.
That's not what it was purchased for. It was purchased with
This
mental
is
health,
why-
mental health funds.
Yes.
It
Well,
was for a diversionary program. Meantime, we've moved Veterans Affairs out there, social services, got to the point where there was no more expansion. We had people out at Triview. We had them in the courthouse, and that's just very tough to manage for a person that's the head of that department to manage here and out there. So now we've got everything moving out there, and it's in the process of going out to bids for remodeling, and that's been going on since, October, November? And we still haven't got the final product yet. The city
A lot of
assessor,
the information you're talking about should be in a memo when you're discussing these items, so we can be reminded of the history behind things. Because oftentimes, there's barely any information made available in your agenda with any background or other information that would help the public understand what it is that you're actually trying to do. I mean, you look at any other local government, they're gonna have better details than what's being provided here.
well, I think you're accusing us of not having, being open to the public, and that's not true. We are, and we provide the information, we discuss it, whether it's recorded or not, or whether a department head puts it in writing. And again, you're accusing Pat Gill of not putting something in writing here on this particular thing too. Now, James, you know, we've had a lot of different things that's happened and changed that when you talk about the purchase and the use of facilities in this county. Now, it's been within the last 3 years or more that the state has said that we have to go through a reorganization with our mental health program. Now, we're in a quandary on what's going on there. We have to plan for that also, and we're not getting a whole lot of answers from the state on that particular plan. Now, we just can't jump in 3 months, 90 days, or 8 months and use facilities or staff, or hire staff or lay staff off based on what's happening outside Woodbury County. We've had meetings with other surrounding counties about our mental health program. That's been a topic of discussion on a monthly basis, if you will. And if we had some assurity or some finality from the state, then we could move on those kind of things. But I'm not going to get into that. I mean, we're here to talk about the use of this particular space that we have now available to the county. And I think that the board is going to allow Pat to move part of his election equipment and program to this courthouse. This other discussion should take place in our long-term or short-term planning that we plan on having in the near future. And I say near future, within this next fiscal year.
And Mr. Gill's not the only one who's guilty of sometimes not having something on the agenda. It happens. I mean,
Well, it does happen,
And it shouldn't.
And well, I don't know if it shouldn't or not, but it does.
Every department
but
head
it-
or elected official
It does
should be
happen.
required
We
to
have an
have
item
memo.
coming on the agenda this morning that was not on the agenda, but by law, we can make a decision on it.
You said it got added to the agenda today? It was on there?
Oh, no, we're talking about another item,
Okay,
Jim.
okay.
But
I was
I don't
lost.
want to be,
I'm trying to understand where you're
No,
going
well,
here.
I'm trying to understand where you're going too. I don't want to be argumentative here with you, and I'm not going to get into an argument. This is a discussion, and I'm sorry that you don't agree with us, and not everybody is going to agree
No,
with
and
us,
I
and I don't
respect
expect that.
No, I wouldn't.
But we do expect, some civility in our discussions here on various items, and some understanding on the items that we have to deal with, and the variety of things that we have to deal with on a weekly, monthly, and a yearly basis. Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this particular item?
I don't think we have a motion.
I'll make
No,
a
we don't.
motion to move your absentee into the assessor's office,
Okay.
the old assessor's office.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. So you do have
Aye.
Aye.
permission to move, your voter absentee.
I want to apologize to the board and the public because I realized this morning that I saw that on the agenda is that I didn't provide that. Mr. Boykin's defense, I asked him last week about moving down there. He said that is something we have to put on the agenda. We'll put it on the agenda for the meeting next week. And I forgot to put that memo together. And you're correct. It should have been in there, and I apologize for that. It should have been done. Now to explain what Mr. Boykin referenced as far as an item not on the agenda is that Steve is here and we're doing a canvas for the drainage ditch selections that are for the Garrettson and what's the other one?
You know, it was the farmer's drainage.
Farmers drainage ditch. It's not something we do, but it was delivered to our office this morning. Communication should have been better, but they just need the canvas to be signed, received, and signed by the board. The board, it's a strictly ministerial function. It's not something they can deliberate on. So this is not, the Secretary of State's office has told us time after time that it's not subject to the open meetings law. Usually we do place it on the agenda, but it was not delivered to us in time for that. And it's really not a timely function, and the board could choose to wait till next week, but the trustees asked us to.
I have no problem with that.
That's
So,
what.
so the motion is to move for signatures, or?
Well, what are the drainage districts? I don't know if we want to take them individually or if we want to take them
Well,
as
there's
a
two.
group.
We've got the abstract of votes for the drainage district, which there was not a trustee elected. There were no votes even cast in that one.
Mm-hmm.
So this abstract is basically just saying that there were no votes.
Okay, so we want to receive that
Move to
on a separate
receive it.
motion.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. No.
Sorry.
And then we've got the abstract of votes for the farmer's drainage district here, where
What's the name of the drainage district, Steve?
that's the name of it, farmer's drainage.
Oh, Farmers
District.
Drainage District. Okay.
Yep, and it's for District 3, and Fred Johnson was elected for that one, so we've got the abstract of votes there to sign, and then if you could pass this.
Okay, is there a motion to receive that Farmers Drainage District?
Motion to receive.
Second.
Discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Do you have one more?
This is just a certificate of election that I just need to have you sign.
Okay. Is there a motion to
Need a
receive that
motion on that.
for
What is that? a
authorization for
conditional one,
signature?
or-
No, that goes with the farmer's one, the one that you're signing right there, but that's just the one that George has to sign.
Move the chairman be authorized to sign.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you, Steve. Get her done.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, is that all? Do we have another one coming?
Get two more signatures.
Do you want these back right away, Steve, here?
I can get back to the meeting.
Okay. I'll have it signed for you here in a minute. Or less. Okay. There you are. Thank you. Moving on, let's go on to item 6, which is the consideration of approval for an appointment to the Conservation Board.
Chairman, I'd move on Susan Bowden
Okay,
for the Conservation
is there a
Commission.
second? Any discussion? Those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you.
I guess with the outgoing of Mr. Grupp, he probably won't know this, but I just want to thank him if he would, I don't know if you talked to him anymore, Rick, but he did a good job on conservation.
he
I got
did.
to know him through his work. I think he is an upstanding, fine person, and we'll miss him, but I'm also excited to bring on Susan, and I just love your department. I do. You do such a good job, Yeah, I just proud to be in Woodbury County because of conservation and what you guys offer, so keep it up. Yeah.
Yeah, he will be missed. He was a very good commissioner. Thank you for those remarks, Jackie.
Yeah.
Let's move on to item 8, which is the SWCD buyers. Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped over you. Secondary roads.
This will be a quick one.
No, that's all right. I didn't mean to miss you.
On our construction projects, we have a standing contract with Iowa DOT to do materials testing on those items that we don't have the lab facilities to do. This is for our Parent 99 project, a bridge replacement. This was on the D38 bridge east of Anthem. We have a bill for $826.01 and a universal payment voucher from the Office of Finance to take us from our farm to market program to reimburse DOT for their services. I recommend approval.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion.
One of the smaller ones you've ever brought, Mark.
Well, we try on, we don't have to try very hard on these. This is a very small part of a $654,000 project, so.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Mark, are you, you're going to be available tonight at the meeting at
I'm on
Salix?
the agenda.
That's right.
I've just got to make some modifications to my PowerPoint for tonight. Been looking forward to this, so.
So it's mainly an informational meeting down there with
Yeah,
folks involved in.
We've contacted everybody from the Browns Lake area up to the 185th National Guard, Air Guard unit there, and invited them to the meeting. It'll be tonight at the Salix Community Center. And CF Industries will be there to
Right.
present information on their project. Department of Transportation will be there to share their 5-year program work in the area, as will county secondary roads.
Absolutely.
So we'll be going over the RISE project work not only for this summer, but up until the completion of the CF
Should be-
Industries plan.
It should be a good informational meeting.
Those folks are seeing a lot of work down there that's really going to make some improvements in their systems.
Good.
We hope they'll be enthusiastic about that part, but there will be some inconvenience to go with it for a little bit.
Oh, yeah, definitely when you have progress. All right, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Okay. Hearing of any individual or group wishing to make, oh, I missed you again. SWCD, Louis Byers, want to step up?
Poor Louis.
Yes, Gary Walters, District Commissioner, myself here, just presenting our report, and if you continue to support us in the future.
When was this one picture taken?
Which one?
Out in the 50s.
In the 50s?
Yep, yep.
I thought maybe you got that
The
last
age
week.
is a little, no, but that's what a lot of these landowners that are coming home, like I said, are really remember, you know, and that also reflects down the line in all our sporting stores and everything also, if we can restore them.
As we
Gary, you haven't?
work on these structures, have to dewater quite a few of them, and it's shocking. You look out there and you think you have a 5-acre lake that's infinitely deep, and dewater them and they're 18 inches deep. It's just amazing. So they've fought and held back, and now they don't support fish, and they're supporting less conservation because they have less capacity than they used to.
Well, you know, Louis, and Gary, we've been out there to look at some of these, and this one looks pretty familiar to us. You're doing a great job out there. It's really a necessary thing that has to continue because it's environmental, and also it really assists, you know, the producers, the farmers out there in their work in producing products. So if it wasn't done, we'd really have some major problems. So we appreciate what you're doing. I think that the board you know, supports this project and you and the program, and it's been ongoing since I've been on the board, and you've done a tremendous job.
We appreciate your financial support in supporting Louis' position. We couldn't do it without your support.
Do we need to receive any kind of report from you on this, or today, or just this, it was
Today.
just an information item for us?
Just for down the road for your discussion.
Okay.
We're basically kicking the can down the road on this, aren't we?
Yes. Yeah.
What, in other words, we really don't have enough funding and whatever to keep up with all the projects that we have out there and structures. Because we do live in a relatively hilly area of the state, and they will continue to kind of silt in, and whatever, the dams will be threatened and whatever.
Yep, nature threatens them 24/7, there's no break, so. We've got a maintenance fund and we use it prudently and try to keep ahead of the worst of the maintenance issues. But yeah, someday there will be more issues than we have today, no doubt.
Still providing tons of protection out there though, for everybody, land and roads, so.
Any other comments from the board?
I move we receive the report.
Okay.
Second, then?
Any further discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you for your support.
Okay, now we can get to number 9. Hearing of any individual wishing to make a presentation to the board on an item not on the agenda.
I have something.
Mr. Jordan is,
Oh,
Al Jordan, Sioux City Assessor. I just wanted to let you know, most of you know, that we've almost completed our move up to the 5th floor. But I wanted to give some recognition to the county facilities staff. They did a great job in helping us get that space ready at minimal cost. And I just wanted to make sure that they got some recognition for all of their hard work. And I want to thank them, and I want to thank the board.
well, you're welcome.
Thank you.
They did a nice job up there.
Yeah.
They really did a really nice job. Thank you, Al.
I have one, Mr.
Jackie.
Chairman. We received an email from David Gleiser on a meeting, a Chamber of Commerce meeting in Mobile on February 11th. I know that conflicts a little bit with our agenda time because it is a Tuesday, but I have had Mayor Fisher call me about 3 times about going. He really wants whoever can attend that meeting. I've talked to I believe it's Mr. Countryman, who's the president of the chamber. I have said I would go, so I'm hoping as you schedule that, I'll remind you that we can be done in time to get up there. Maybe we could start early. They just really, really want us to come out, and I think if we could adjust
time
our
is that?
schedule. It's
That
at
mean-
noon on February 11th, so we
Okay.
should be pretty much through our agenda or our budget
Pretty
hearings
much.
by then, or maybe we could move them before. I don't know. Just looking ahead, I wanted to give you a heads up that I would like to go, and I am
Okay.
going to go because I've talked to so many times, and I said I would go. So they have really.
I'll see what I can do.
Yes,
Well,
thank you.
That should be an agenda item, Pat, or
If
not?
we all go.
If we all go, then it will be an agenda item. Yeah, that's got to be announced.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Let's move on to the budget items then. First budget's going to be rural economic development.
Nope,
General relief.
general relief.
Oh, general relief, I'm sorry. That's on page, in general basic, that's page 93 and 94.
Anybody wants to update it for 13, fiscal year 13, I do have them all printed out here
Okay.
to give you the updated numbers.
Yeah, we're probably going to need those, Dennis, to a certain extent.
Do you have it for this budget?
Which one we're on, 94? Yes, I
Well,
do.
yeah, and then,
As of 3013, on fiscal year 13, we're at 122,824.
122.
117,000 the previous year, fiscal year 12, fiscal year 14, halfway through the year, 41,000. Assuming a lot of the costs come at the end of the year, but
One of the things that I'll remind you is that we have a rental assistance program, and every place that we can, we're using that money when we can. We match county money with it. So that really helps because, as you know, rental costs are high. So if we can get some other program to pay for that, that's quite a significant savings on this budget.
Move to receive.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
That was easy.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Yes, we're very grateful.
Take care.
I've got administrator.
You get administration. That's
Nine.
assistance or administration?
Do the,
Administration was first.
that was
Okay.
first,
No.
but we should do the
But
assistance.
then I'll make a motion for the assistance also.
Second.
Okay. Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Let's, rural economic development. David Gleiser.
morning, folks.
That's on
Morning.
127, 128.
I guess I would start off by saying that I reviewed the past year's budgets for the department, and I would say that I appreciate the allocation that's been proposed here for the department this year. I believe it'll be sufficient for us to be visible throughout Woodbury County and be involved in economic development activities, also, you know, that support entrepreneurism and small business development and growth. And, you know, honestly, I think we will do the best with what we have and be utterly responsible with our allocation for the department this year. Should we need anything outside of this, you know, obviously I'd come before the board and make a presentation for that. But my initial reaction to the figures is that it will be sufficient, and we're appreciative.
Okay?
And you did keep everything basically the same,
Yeah, in
as I
fact,
looked
it's a
at it.
little
Yeah,
less.
essentially, and if
Little
there
less than what it was
needs
last
to be
year.
movement within the budget to support
Oh,
other categories that are already, you know,
This year,
approved,
182.
I think, you know, we would be able to do that, but the initial reaction is that it looks legitimate, and like I said, it should be sufficient for us to be visible within the community, make our connections at the state level as, you know, and throughout Woodbury County.
I don't know, we just haven't used the money in the travel line item.
You really haven't used it because it's been vacant for a few months. In fact, I haven't even been used this year due to nobody in the office.
Well, I'm going back to 12.
Okay, he did not do a lot of traveling at that point in time, and with a new director, there'll probably be a lot more travel to get out and search. He just didn't spend his money, or he spent his own money a lot of times.
I think he spent his own money a lot of times. He just didn't turn in claims. He went on his own. So I don't really want to cut that. What I want to make sure is that you have the support that you need and the training and enough of a budget to give you things to help you be successful. So
Yes.
I think we need to keep it
I do too.
because if anything, it's probably light still.
You know, and looking at that, I thought it was very, very much on the light side.
Right.
You know, and just in the last 2 weeks, I've spent a lot of time out in rural Woodbury County and meeting stakeholders and attending meetings on behalf of the constituents and things like that. So I guess what I'm saying is that looking at the overall budget, I'm not asking for any more dollars. I think that we can make do with what we have. But again, in implementing our activities, I think it will be necessary perhaps to move some line items from one category to another, but again, not affecting the overall budget. So, and those are things I think that, you know, the department is prepared to do. But I guess more than anything, I see the most of our expenses would be in-state travel, you know, in-state travel, professional services, and just your overall office expenses. So.
Okay.
And
Dennis.
This department's funded with local option sales tax money, not tax, real estate tax
Exactly.
dollars.
Okay.
I'd move to receive it.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
You're
Did you
welcome.
hear my little spiel on going to Mobile?
Yes, thank you, I appreciate that. Those folks are very much want us to be there, and
They really do.
yes,
Okay,
We're going to make our best effort.
thank you.
All right.
thank you.
Okay, human resources.
That's why I want to go.
That should be, oh, is it? Page 124 on the human resources, general basic.
I'm sorry, George, what? page?
Human, 124.
Oh, it's not, okay. I was going the wrong way then.
General basic.
Any items there that comes to your attention, ladies and gentlemen, that we should be looking at?
Yeah, I got a quick question. How did you fund the department?
Just a minute, Jim. I mean, I'm asking for, I'll get your comments later, from Gloria or from the board members.
The only thing I would ask is if at all possible, we could leave as much as it is for next year as it was for the last year. And the reason for that is there was a lot of things that were kind of put on hold at different times, and especially the travel and educational parts of it. And then also the copying and printing, because we haven't put out any of the new SPDs yet. We've been waiting for a final draft, and so when those come, there'll be a SPD for the health, the dental, the flex, and the 2 different vision plans, and so we'll have those. And then also there's some updates that need to be done to the policy manual, and so there's a possibility that that could be quite a bit. So for those things, the printing and the binding and so on, if that could be maybe left the same. And then again, for the travel, there was a couple different meetings and different things that we probably should have gone to, but because that was late in the year or late in fall, I canceled those because I didn't want to go alone, and also the fact that that left the office without anybody in it. So it was kind of stay in the office and get the work done or go to the training, and I didn't go to the training. So, maybe the new director will want to attend some of those things and get acquainted with different things throughout the county. So I asked that maybe that be looked at and not changed. And then also parking for the new person, they'll have to have parking. We're currently that has been given to David, but in the future there'll probably be someone that'll need the parking. And then also the telephone. I know that the new director will probably need a phone, and those kind of things have been put on hold for right now. So he'll need, or he or she, whomever, will need a desk phone and a cell phone and stuff. And then professional services.
What is that? I was wondering what that was. 4201 is.
I assume one is the cell phone, and then the other one is the regular landline that's on the.
No, under professional services. What are professional services?
What we use right now is Ed Gilliland. And then at times we were using the legal services, but I haven't used any of that. I didn't feel that I've needed it. I have used it once or twice to call, but so in the future, it's hard to say what legal services we'll need. But right now, we haven't used a lot of it today.
No, I was looking at that. We haven't.
No. It was only on one occasion that I made a phone call. It was about something to do with the union. So we just haven't used it, but I hate to speak for someone else that's coming in.
This is a tough budget to deal with
It is.
because of the unknowns,
Right.
but the training budget's just never been used.
Right, and the reason for that is because we were looking at new materials. We have a safety and risk training that we do every month with secondary roads and building services. And what we did was we had bought some earlier and discovered that we hadn't used it, so we're using that. But we know that we'll have to get new because bloodborne pathogens, the process has changed, CPR has changed, and so we'll need to buy some new, but I just haven't done enough research to know exactly what to get yet. So that's why we haven't touched some of that stuff yet.
I'd take a couple thousand out of training at least.
I don't think that's wise to reduce this budget with a new person coming in until we know what's going on.
Yeah, but if you go back, it's
Well,
never
going
been
back
used.
is not a new person.
We did, the budget did stay at a 0% increase.
Well, I do have one other question on a different item. 4282, what are medical fees?
42 what?
4282.
4282 on page 125. I just didn't know what it was.
Pre-employment physicals. For all the new employees that come in, we do a pre-employment physical. It isn't real expensive, but they are needed. And we haven't hired a lot, so therefore we haven't used a lot of it.
Couldn't we pay those out of the self-health insurance fund, because that's making sure that physically fit to come be on our insurance somewhat, or physically fit to work? Why couldn't that either be out of liability fund or health insurance fund?
It could, as far as I know, it could come out of the health fund, but it
Well,
was
you know,
designated.
yeah, legitimately, it probably should, rightfully should come out of that fund.
So basically, it's just
Just moving it.
keeping it, but moving
Moving
it.
it.
Move it out of here,
But-
go to our
Okay.
internal service.
Yeah, and we're going to be looking at the liability fund anyway, as far as
Yeah.
upping that.
So reduce it just 6,500?
Yep.
Right.
So move that to, in the future, so when I do claims for next year, move that to the health or liability?
Either one. I'd ask that,
Okay,
you know, which appropriate
okay,
place to come out.
okay,
So for now, just take it out of there.
okay.
So we're taking $6,500 out of that line item.
Motion to receive this budget with minus 65.
Okay.
Who has cell phones up there? That the county pays?
JD and, well, the director and I, and Caroline's, but hers has died, and she isn't on call anymore for work comp. I do that, so then we can take that one, so it's just two.
So you have two, okay. Is there anything else in this budget?
Question. In the history, it looks like department head is only like $25,000. How is the department head actually funded?
What line item are you looking at?
The very first one, like 1003 department head.
The department head
Um,
is split through 4 different areas,
Oh, it is?
and so you may be only looking at a part of
Got a
it.
handle of it.
Yeah, and mine is split 3 ways, so it kind of depends on what work we're doing. And so it's
So what are the other?
divided.
Department is paid out of general basic, general supplemental, secondary roads, and health insurance.
Depending on the issue you're working.
Right, we kind of prorate it out to where they serve their times at.
Thank you.
Are there any other items besides the one that we took the $6,500 out of? Seeing none, there's a motion to receive this budget. Is there a second?
Second.
With the amendment of $6,500. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Total reduction,
6,500.
and you're,
Right.
Okay. Risk management, is that the right number for that one, Dennis? I mean, page
Yes,
number?
and that's in general supplemental. What this is, a one-line item. Our self-liability insurance fund is good. I hate to use the word slaughter, but it's been hit very, very hard. A lot of different lawsuits, workers' comp, insurance. We are getting down to about 300,000 or 400,000. By the end of the year, we'll be down probably 200,000. That's extremely low for liability fund when we're self-insured. I'm proposing to raise it 500,000, $1.5 million. Because you have to have money in there. If we don't have the money in there to pay our comp, our liability, any lawsuits, we're gonna borrow money paying interest. So soon just get it built back up, and that isn't even enough probably. But we're going on the low side because it is a tax increase, but we have to have money in there if we're gonna be self-insured. So it's just, I
Yeah.
get past if you wanna tax that much, and I don't know how to get by.
I don't know how to get by it either. Because you're right, we've had a lot of suits that we've had to pay out on and workman's comp's claims.
Now, maybe the next year we can lower it, but let's see how we go 1 year. We're gonna make sure we got money.
Yeah, I would move it, receive it,
I'd second
with
it.
that $500,000 amount. Any further discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
is that as submitted, or is that in addition?
No, as submitted, as submitted.
If I already had $500,000. You skipped emergency. No.
So, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Emergency services. You didn't, okay. He's in the building, Kevin? He's in the building, right?
In this
Okay.
particular budget, you want to go clear to the back of your book, it's not tax funds.
Okay, general
Go
supplement.
clear to the back of your book, it's already ahead.
Yeah, a little bit.
What's,
And.
What do you, what?
what'd you say,
Clear to the
Butler?
back of your budget, what's-
Clear to
For
the back?
emergency services?
What page, Danny?
Non-tax funds, you go clear to the back and look for Fund 760 on the left-hand side. So we're going to start page 29. I didn't print out the whole budget there because it's about 50 sheets we don't use because they're old grants, but we still have 31 books for 3 years. So is everybody kind of at that point?
I've got it.
On page,
Back on-
starting on page 29.
Yep, we're going to fund 760.
It's only about
I was on page
Not like-
29.
5 pages in between.
There you go.
Okay, that page 29.
Everybody
All right, we're there.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, emergency services, and Starcom allocations.
Let's start with emergency services. There's pretty much everything, there's 3 areas of the budget that are not same as last year's. One was, early in the budget discussions, and it's something I want to bring to the board's attention, the need for an additional employee to work with us on the emergency management programs and processes. There's a lot of new requirements coming down on us for special needs, animals and disasters. There's a lot of projects we're not getting done just because of lack of resources. And what we had talked on and off, I think I've talked with several of the board members on and off over the last year or so that as we move forward, there's, the department has picked up significant additional responsibilities over the last 30 years, and we've stayed pretty much the same status with administrative resources. I understand the situation with the board and the budget right now, and that whole conversation, I think until you probably get a little farther through the budgeting process, could be put out there in kind of a holding pattern until we, in talking with Denny and Mr. Boykin, I think they would appreciate if we did that just until we get a little farther through this budget process to see where the numbers actually come in.
So remove the new employee, is that what you just said? Take that out of the budget, 1099?
I wouldn't say take it out, but if there's an opportunity later in the budgeting process to have a conversation about that, depending on where the numbers come in. We understand that the budgets are the way they are, and money is tight, and there's a lot of demands on the money, but the need is still there. The need isn't going to go away, whether it's in this budgeting year or next budgeting year. We do our best to keep our finger in the dike, so to speak.
Right now, the general supplemental fund, we're facing about a $2.3 million increase. Somewhere we've got to cut. I understand what Gary's saying, but we pretty much told everybody, no new employees or services. And something maybe look down the road, but for the time being, the price should come up. We've got to cut somewhere.
I have to agree with our, our person here.
Yeah, and I understand.
It's something to visit down the road.
Yeah, I understand that, but as we move forward, there'll be a transition in my position sometime in the future.
Right.
It would be nice to start to transfer some institutional knowledge at some point.
I would move that we reduce this budget by $77,473, and that's the new position.
That's,
Second, do you need a
Yeah, I need a second.
second
you
on
want to
that?
move on each
But move-
line item, or do you want?
Well, we can move on each line item, but, yes. We're on page 29.
Clear in the back.
Clear in the, you have to
Clear in the
go
back.
clear to the end.
In the non-tax, all the way to the back.
Only like 5 pages in between.
Fund 760. Go
James.
clear to the very, very back page.
Actually, all we do is allocate funds for emergency services, Starcom out of general supplemental. Technically, his board is supposed to act on his budget.
Budget.
This board
Page
either
30.
receives the allocation or doesn't receive the allocation. Boyd's gone through and made cuts that he takes back to board and he laid out.
Or
The,
29.
Was this person added into FICA and everything else or not?
Yep, that was a complete position, health insurance, everything.
So those,
That was the 77 total.
When we put in the new positions, we included everything.
okay,
The 77,473 would be all of it.
Would be everything.
So you'd be removing the 77,473.
Yep.
anything else on this budget?
Couple things I'd like to bring to the
Question.
board's attention on the line item 2501. We're taking $1,200 out of electricity and moving it over to gas and oil.
You're doing what with that, Gary?
We took $1,200, we just moved $1,200 from our electric line item over to gas and oil. We've been able to manage where we are budget-wise with electricity, and we need a little more in gas and oil. And then, and I don't know, Denny, are you talking about the capital budget now, or is that at another day?
Well, there's one just before that one.
Which one?
I had a question on 4301. Basically, I know it's just jumped so high.
Okay, 4301. 4301 is, we shared that budget with the Sheriff's
Right.
Department. The Sheriff's Department no longer has any operations at Climbing Hill, so they no longer pay any of the expenses there. Last year, we transferred, you took it out of the Sheriff's budget, I think you took 16,000 or 14,000 out of the Sheriff's Department's propane line item, and you gave me 7 of that. That's the reason for that jump.
Because you're having to assume the responsibility of that expense out there.
Right, and year to date, we've spent about half of that 10,005. We're at about $5,400.
Okay,
So we're pretty close on track, I think, with what we're budgeting for there.
What I couldn't remember is how much we took out of the sheriff's
I
budget.
can't tell you
That's
for
why,
sure how
but
much you took
that-
out of last
that
year's
explain-
sheriff.
that explains my
Right.
question, or answers
Gary,
my
what
question.
about 4310? I mean, is your expense going to go up there on that,
On building-
electricity, or was that?
On the electricity, we've always paid the electric.
Oh, you've always paid that,
The sheriff's
100%?
paid most of the heating out of their budget. The other place that we're getting worked over pretty hard is they used to share the building maintenance expenses with us, and they don't, and none of that was transferred out of their budget last year to our budget. If you look at that line item, you'll see we're running plenty ahead of where we ought to be. And that pays for everything from light bulbs to something that breaks, we fix it, the well, the boilers, all of that comes out of that line.
What line item is that, Gary?
Buildings.
4410.
Okay,
You know, and what we're asking for there is a little bit of help in that line item, to the tune of about $3,800 to take us to 10,000 in that line item, and that's for the routine maintenance and care of the grounds in the building. That would be an increase over last year, and I don't know what, if any, was taken out of the sheriff's budget from Climbing Hill. It was really hard when we had the discussion is to try to find how much they actually spent. Because when Greg was chief deputy, we just used to, okay, you're paying for this, I'm paying for that. There was never a real, how much he had. I never didn't know how much they actually had. So.
You refer back to last year's budget. We didn't remove that from the sheriff's office last year, did we?
I believe.
I don't-
I think she did. We did. Yes, she did.
When did that come through? I can't recall this at all.
Agreed during the budget they were gonna leave Climbing Hill, get out of that, and that's when we took it out of theirs and put it into his.
And what did we do on the sheriff's side?
We still gonna reduce
it
his.
reduced his.
But do you remember how much you took out? And it was like 14 or 16,000.
I know it's around 16,000, his,
Right.
about 7 on yours.
And we took about 7 of that and put it in.
Yes. So we had to
And-
cut them down.
Right, in mine, but we didn't do anything on, they used to share the cost of building maintenance with us, and now that's all our responsibility.
Yeah, where I'm going with this is the sheriff had an entire budget for Climbing Hill. We did not transfer that over to emergency services. We only transferred a portion of it.
He didn't have an entire budget there. What he's doing is budget some out of uniform patrol, some out of administration. If you look at uniform patrol, the last 2 years, they're spending $40,000 out of it. Now they're spending 0 because he took it all. And they aren't spending that much They had coding where I think they're just coding more they could fit it into to make the budget balance in some cases.
But that 40,000 didn't go to me.
No.
7,000 was all I got last year when I took over the entire operation of the building. We took 16 from them and I got 7 of it. We're just looking to see if we can move that number up a little bit in building maintenance. My employees do almost all of the work. The only thing they don't do is anything that we, like the boilers and stuff, where we have to be certified to mess with those.
Okay.
I move to receive the budget. as
Wait a minute, I have a couple,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I did have another question. On page 31, 4501, rent buildings, are we still paying rent?
Now, what that is that's the Security Institute, and if you go down and look, we had a bad coding on, look under 6105, that 29,325 should be in that 4501 line item. But that's our share of the operation of the Security Institute, the county share. We call it rent because we try to capture everything that's an expense for that facility in one spot. And we truly, WIT owns the building, so with our line items available to us, rent fit.
So does that show as income coming into, well, I thought E911 ran that out there, Security Institute.
Woodbury County pays 1/3 of the Security Institute operating budget, the 911, the city pays 1/3, and WIT pays 1/3. Of the physical
Who
building.
controls that budget?
The commission, which meets
Yeah.
Thursday morning.
Yeah, right, and so that, part of that rent is coming out of your budget on
1/3 of
the county
total
side, right?
$5,000.
Right, operation
budget
costs.
So it's paid on an annual basis then?
WIT bills us at the end of the fiscal year, and anything else that's our cost at that facility comes out of that line item as well. But that, and Denny, we said, you got an email, I think it's been corrected, it just doesn't show up on these sheets where that 6105 was miscoded. It belongs up in 4501.
Oh, it does?
So should that number be increased to $57,000, or should it stay at
But
$37,000?
here's my
It stays
question.
at 37.
Oh, so
So
there should
we
be
should
zero
pull the
there.
20,000 out of 6105.
There's a that $20,000 number, what Denny set out the request for capital improvements budgets. That's what we put in our capital improvement budget with Denny to, what we'd like to do is start to do some work on windows and doors in that facility to tighten it up so it's a little more energy efficient.
Okay,
That 20,000 actually is a line item within the capital budget along with the $70,000 for the vehicle. That's what where I believe they needed to be put, and that's where we put them. They show up in this budget sheet as well.
So this needs to come out,
Right.
because we're gonna have over there, okay.
Okay.
That 20 and that 70,000 for that vehicle that we need to talk
But
about.
we didn't have that in here, that's on equipment replacement.
Right.
We'll get to it.
I was gonna say that's not
Right.
So
anywhere.
that 20,000 actually.
so this 20,000 should actually come out.
Yep,
Right.
Okay,
It's a discussion we need to have on the county's capital budget.
and those will be up next week.
right, okay.
It would be a capital expense. Yep. And the only other thing I'd like to bring to the board's attention is, our vehicle, our fleet, is aging, there's getting a lot of miles on it, it's costing us money. We put in the capital request, $70,000 to replace a vehicle. We think we have a new strategy that's gonna save us money in the long run. Instead of these utility body trucks, we're looking at going to a dually rear-wheeled, heavy pickup, and with a topper, which will be more efficient to operate, and in the long run, I think it'll save us money, and we really feel it's better for our EMS equipment to be inside the cab of the truck and not back in those compartments where all the dust is at. But if we can get that money, then I think we can hold the line on our vehicle maintenance. We just got, our trucks are just getting a lot of miles on them, and they're costing us a lot of money.
What is the 70,000 for then?
That would replace that rescue truck with a new vehicle with the topper, the slide out, the light bar, the radio. It would outfit a new rig.
But you're talking about a pickup with dualies.
You're talking about a heavy pickup. You're talking about a $55,000 vehicle, but just to re-chassis one of them that we got would be $75,000 by the time you buy the cab, re-chassis it, hook everything back up, repaint the box. We think this is a way to go going forward if we can get that replacement vehicle cost in that capital budget.
Is that in this budget here?
No, that'll be discussed next week,
Okay.
because we do have a problem with equipment replacement, going to the riverboat funds. Our total equipment replacement is $234,000, which literally pretty much takes every dollar of riverboat funds that we get during that year, because we had to knock the riverboat down $75,000, because we aren't getting the money from MERV. Our route goes into all may change, but for the time being, we always use equipment replacement.
With those
Riverboat
funds.
fund that.
Right.
That wipes it out. Besides, another item going to keep on our riverboat was also non-mandated expenses in general basic for $74,000. So we have some decisions to decide down the road how we're gonna do all this.
So
We
what,
may not have any riverboat
so this,
funds.
yeah, so this is gonna have to, this capital thing is gonna have to stay on hold too, I think, until we get to that, get to that issue.
Right, and I will be out of town next week, so I won't be able to participate in that conversation.
What's this you're handing out to us?
This is kind of a cheat sheet on the start line,
Okay, yeah.
which is coming up next, so. But I don't think we've finished this one yet, so.
Yeah, we got to finish the motion on this one to reduce
Well, look,
77,000
and 20,000.
and 20,000.
90s.
Two. Yep.
Okay.
Now, Starcom, we had budgeted about 80-some.
Let's finish on this one.
I'm sorry.
Was there a motion to receive this budget with the amendments?
I think
Is it one budget, Dennis, or what? It says here.
One budget. This is just,
Emergency services.
yeah, that's just emergency service one we're doing.
Right.
Starcom, another breakdown in that line item.
Okay, so the emergency services,
That's what we're working on now.
Yeah, it was reduced by
I wasn't
90.
at the agenda here, Dennis.
Okay. Yep.
So we're looking at emergency services.
Services and Starcom allocation.
they're together.
Yep.
You're doing half of that.
Yeah, we're doing half of that. We're doing the emergency services side of it, and now we're gonna do the Starcom allocation.
Is it one budget?
One total broke down to two different deals.
Okay, all right. So, but the first one, emergency services, you have a motion, it's
We have-
7,000, you added
right.
20,000 to it, right?
Right, so move that out, yes.
Okay, so how do you want this reflected in the minutes?
I would just say on emergency services allocation, because then we're gonna Starcom, and they add together for one lump
All
sum.
right, so this, the motion that's on the floor is just for emergency
Emergency,
services?
yes, absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Second.
So there is a motion on the floor to reduce emergency services by $92 or $97,000. $473, okay.
97,473.
And there was a second. Any further discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Okay, now we go on to the Starcom portion of it.
Flip your pages to page 43 now. The actual last page in your budget book. In this particular one, there's a big increase for equipment, about 87,000. What was it exactly?
County's share would be 80,500, but if you're ready, I'll present
Yeah.
a little information on this. There's two sides now to the Starcom budget. There's the capital improvements. We need to keep the Starcom system fresh and moving forward. We've been in front of all of the partners in Starcom over the last year and a half or so, talking about the need to budget for capital improvement dollars. We did, and everybody agreed that it needed to be done, and we started moving forward, and the city of Sioux City asked us to push this off a year. We went to the 911 Services Board, the Woodbury County 911 Services Board, and they are actually going to fund the cost of year one's improvements for Sioux City, Woodbury County, and the city of Sergeant Bluff, which would be the Woodbury County players in the Starcom budget. So if you look at the bottom of that page, that 80,500 for Woodbury County, the 185.5 for Sioux City, and the 10.5 for Sergeant Bluff will be funded now out of 911 surcharge dollars to the tune of 276,500. The other partners in
What were those numbers again? To the tune of
276.5.
276.5.
So there's no liability on the county's part for this year's operating budget to get started on this capital improvements.
Gary, is this a loan, or are they just
No,
making the
no.
payment?
The 911 Service Board funds are eligible for these expenses and can be used and should be used.
They've got that much money.
Yes, they've actually got, Glenn and I and Wendy sit down and we put together a long-range capital budget for the 911 Services Board. We took it to their executive committee had it approved there, took it to the 911 board, had it approved there, and it includes these expenses, which the first year is going to be working on our microwave system, upgrading it. It also includes expenses for a 911 switch that the comm center will have to replace. It includes some mapping software, and without having it in front of me, but we've laid out the next 3 or 4 years of capital, and in doing that, the 911 board had some resources available that we could go in and apply to this. It's a good use of dollars that are already in the bank, rather than to ask the tax for it again. So the 911 board is putting their foot in the STARCOM game this year for the first time and helping with some of those. And annually, we will review the capital improvement budget for both STARCOM and the 911 board, and if there's resources available within 911, then we will approach them again about helping with some of the STARCOM upgrades. But for this year, the board doesn't have to budget anything for the capital budget for STARCOM. The county's liability for their share of the operating budget will be the same as last year, 66,276.91, which is that next column over, next to the capital improvements down there.
Okay, so the projected capital improvements, we can pull out of that $80,500.
Yes, that could come out of the request. We've been able to.
Does that have any effect on on our general fund or general supplement?
General supplemental reduced by 8,500, which is the second phase of that I'm talking about. You have emergency services, you got STARCOM, so
Okay.
reduce that by 8,500.
Okay.
Yeah, and we think it's a really good mix, and we got a good cooperative thing going on between the STARCOM board and the 911 board and everybody that's a part of STARCOM. But if we don't keep this system fresh, it will time out on us.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And we appreciate the cooperation from the 911 board.
They've never batted.
Yeah, this is wonderful. It really is. Okay, any more information on the STARCOM budget?
But we did lose a couple of tenants on our towers, but we were, with this capital, being able to move forward on these capital improvements, we were able to reduce some of our line items to keep our operating budget the same as last year's moving forward into the next year. But I just want to remind the board that next year, we need to start budgeting the county share of the capital improvements.
What was the loss of funds from those two tenants?
About 18,000.
About 18,000 between both of them? Okay.
Got to get out and start hustling business.
We have some opportunities that we're working on, so.
Okay. Is there a motion on this budget? With the reduction of 80,500?
80,500 removed, I guess.
Okay.
Right.
Any further, yeah, 80,500.
Which all we're doing really is reducing the allocation that's budgeted out general stuff.
Right. Which,
The actual budget line item, we technically can't reduce them. It's got to be this board doing it. But what we're doing is reducing the allocation, tell them where it's coming from.
okay,
Second.
That's my motion, then,
All right.
to reduce the allocation.
all right.
As
Further discussion?
long as we've got Gary here. That is a one-year reduction. Next year, when you come in,
We're just not funding capital improvement this year.
You're funding the operating budget. You're not reducing the operating budget.
Right.
Right.
You're reducing what we had asked for in the proposed budget by 80,500 for capital.
Right.
Next year, we need the county to budget that amount. We'll have spent the 911 budget money. We've got about 4 years of capital improvements that we need to do on the STARCOM radio system that we can see out in our future that are going to require a total of about $350,000 a year for the next 4 years.
That's from the
all
county.
partners. From all of the partners. Only 80,000 of that is Woodbury County's responsibility
per year,
per year. 80,000 of that.
that's 320,000 in 4 years.
Right.
Well, as long as we know,
Right, what's coming? in the
what's
future.
coming down the road, that is,
And we will budget that out of CIP, where we borrow for our CIPs.
And we might have the opportunity to, with 9/11 again, too, Commission.
And that's why we want to run that capital budget as a separate set of numbers.
Right.
Because most of the jurisdictions
Right.
do finance that as a capital improvement rather than
And
as
it
an
is.
operating expense. That's why
Right.
it's shown in 2 different line items.
Right.
We had originally asked for over $500,000 next fiscal year and then dropped to 350, but we've retooled. I went back and revisited the plan. There was some concern whether we could ever get it done. So we retooled, kind of stretched things out, done it over a longer period of time. And I think that's a better way of doing it.
Dennis?
After the county spends over 4 years, 320,000, it stops. Then, when you gotta do it again, it's gonna happen in 1, 2, 3 years, or is this good for 10 years?
I never said it will stop. I said we see out in front of us 4 years of capital improvement needs for that 80,000.
Oh my God, how much are we gonna spend for communication? That's just our share.
Right,
You look at
and
total
it's
budget,
not,
you're talking millions.
it's not gonna go away.
It's not gonna go away. It's gonna be to continue.
Keep improving us. Isn't there a time where stop for a while, or just?
It's kind of like the servers upstairs. This radio system is a very large computer. There are 9 Sun servers that run this. It's all computerized, and if you let a computer set in time and don't stay with it and keep upgrading it, you will get to a point where that is no longer has any value. If it breaks down, you can't get it fixed. So the idea, rather than go out and buy a $10 million radio system every 5 or 6 years, you allocate the dollars along the way to keep the system current, keep it fresh, and keep it operating.
Gary, I do have a question. If next year, let's say Sioux City, they're the biggest contributors, it looks like, is in a budget crunch, and they say our budget just can't handle that 185, then does that delay, are you able to delay it, or I'm just,
We're
or,
working with the city finance people, and they know what we're up against, and they're working with us. We'll cross that.
I just
bridge
didn't know if your improvements can take a year off, or if it's continuous, so once you start, it's not.
We reduced what we were asking for, and we've stretched it out over a longer period of time to try to accommodate budgets. Delaying a year and not doing some of this work, if we break down, we may not be able to come back online for an extended period of time.
See, the city has to prioritize this. Yeah,
And so don't
top
we.
priorities if they want their officers to be able to talk back and forth.
Right, absolutely.
I
Dennis?
got one more question. If 8911 had the money this year, can they raise their 8911 service charge to cover this for every year and not go back to the taxpayer?
Now, the law in Iowa changed, and it capped the 911 board at $1. Matter of fact, everybody that was over $1 had to come down to $1. We're at the maximum that we're allowed by law to generate.
So we need legislation to get on Iowa.
And there is very little desire on the part of the Iowa legislature to raise that cap. We talked to them.
It's
5
very
years
expensive to
yeah.
maintain the system.
5 years
We're
ago.
just one share of this.
Well, but I think you got to put this in perspective. There was something that came down called narrowbanding that we would have spent. Woodbury County and its partners alone, without South Sioux and all the others, would have spent between $6 and $8 million to do narrowbanding. We did all of that through the grants and through the surcharge. Now we just have to keep it current. But we would have spent between at least $6 and $8 million just to narrow band our systems, because all of our systems were antiquated and wouldn't meet the new FCC requirements. So,
Well, we know it's expensive, and it's going to be a continuing expense for us, Gary, because we have to continue to upgrade and to evolve with the system. And fortunately, we have all of these other stakeholders in here in the surrounding area that's partnering with us, that helps us keep those costs down. That's one important component.
the city of Sergeant Bluff, the LEC board in Dakota County, which represents all of Dakota County, including the city of South Sioux, North Sioux City, and Union County, South Dakota, are our partners in all of
Sergeant
them.
Bluff, yeah.
All of them have made the long-term commitment for the capital improvement.
Yeah, and I don't know of any part of the state where they have this kind of collaboration and working on a system like we have here. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, and we're constantly looking at ways to collaborate with both Nebraska, South Dakota, and Iowa with this radio system, because it has enormous potential.
Right.
The problem is the states are having struggles trying to figure out what direction they're actually going. So.
Okay, let's move on. Where are we at with this on the StarCom budget? We're going to cut $80,500 out of this.
Yes. Yeah, it's 80,500.
$500.
On the StarCom allocation.
Right.
The requested allocation.
Right.
That's out of the general sub.
Right. There's two paid, we got two, yeah.
Okay.
Any further discussion, information?
Was that a motion? Or?
That was a motion.
It was a motion.
I thought they seconded it.
Those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, Gary.
That takes care of the next.
Are we going to emergency management, or did that take care of that?
You've done all at once.
Okay.
We're down to animal control now.
Okay.
Okay. And where's that at?
And that's,
Is that page 11?
yeah, it's on page 11. Is that in the back of the book too?
Don't
rural
bet on
basic.
it.
And it's supposed to be the SLA grant.
That is where they reimburse a certain percentage of his wage, we don't have any control on that. All that is just your wage with the benefits.
Is there a budget being submitted here? Because it's on the
No.
agenda, so.
No, it's just to show
We need
where it's
it
already
in
in
there,
there.
or-
Right, it's already figured in the allocation.
Okay. So we're down there.
Yeah, and we're into rural basic, that's page 11.
And the only change in that budget is we're requesting an $800 increase. We contract with the city of Sioux City. We capture and transport to the city of Sioux City the animals. We're not seeing any decline in the number of animals we're taking, but the contract we negotiated with the city of Sioux City was a little more expensive than the ad hoc relationship we had prior to that. When we signed the contract, we knew we were gonna be spending a little more money. We're just asking for we think about $800 will cover that for an annual increase for a year. That contract with the city of Sioux City, and it's far, far cheaper than we could ever do on our own.
Sure is, we
But
don't
to
want to
build
own
a-
our
to build
facility.
an approved kennel that's heated and lit and meets all of the state requirements.
I don't think we want to do that at this point in time. Yeah.
Actually, we would like someone else to take over animal control.
Yeah. Is there a
Move to
motion on this
receive.
budget? There's a motion to receive, there's a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Yeah.
We had that discussion.
Okay, do you have any other items? Thank you, Gary.
Just as a reminder to the board that our office administers the StarCom budget. So we pay, Woodbury County pays all the bills, and then we bill the partner agencies. And we started this in 2006. It's been a great relationship. We spent a little time with the Union County Commissioners to bring them, there's some new folks up there. We brought them up to speed on the value of the StarCom system, and they've made a long-term commitment to stay with us as well. So
Okay, thank you, Gary. All right, our next item is the debt service. That's,
On this particular one, I would suggest we just approve the total expenditures that includes all our principal and interest and our new loan coming up. We borrow essential purpose loans every year from CFPs.
right.
So the total budget is $1,112,325. Say it one more time, please. $1,112,325, which is substantially less than our counterparts under such rules.
I know that. Really?
We don't have much debt.
No, we don't. Is there a motion to receive this budget?
I move to receive.
James,
The
it's in
second?
there.
Second.
Those
Did you get that
in
information?
favor, by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Page 21.
Soil conservation. Rural basic.
That is a one-line item, it's just an allocation to the soil, we pay part of the
Right.
gentleman's salary. We left it the same, and they've been informed it's been like the
That's Louis.
Motion
There
to
a motion to
move
receive? Second?
it. Second.
Discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Planning and zoning. Page 12 and 13. Mr. Puello, are you available? Planning and zoning? Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just a brief comment. I think you'll find everything's pretty much in line with what we've been doing the last few years. No significant increases anywhere. Glad to address what we submitted.
I have a question on 4130. Does someone else do mileage? If you have a car, a county car, do you do mileage and a car?
That's not for anybody in our office. That is reimbursing the Board of Adjustment and Zoning Commission
Okay.
members for their
Travel.
travel to sites.
I was wondering. Okay, thanks.
Move to receive.
Your second?
Wait, one more question here.
Yes.
Cell phone, 4141,
41.
$1,200 budget. Who's all got cell phones? I can't imagine cell phone costs $1,200 a year. Per dozen.
I think-
Most cell phones come at $400, $500, $600.
That's for the monthly charge, as well as we're to a point where our renewal is up. We were going to upgrade the phones. I think we built in $300 for that.
Okay.
I think we've been running about between 60 and 70 a month on cell phone monthly expenses for one phone.
Okay.
Right.
You're the only one then.
I'm the only one in the department with a phone.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Was there a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Well, I had I'm sorry, one more question.
Okay, that's
On
fine.
let's see, I can't read these numbers, 6360 on page 13. It's just on office equipment, are you buying, you haven't spent anything this year. I'm wondering, I've heard this said before, can you spend it this year and then take it out for next year? You have $12.50 allotted and you haven't spent any.
You haven't spent anything there, John.
So I'm just wondering, can you buy what you need out of that $12.50 and then not buy anything? Can we reduce it $1,000, $1,090?
I have there's nothing, that's just been carrying forward every year. I think you'll find, if you go back the last 5 years, we've never really
Right.
spent everything we've had. That's probably a carryover from when we moved upstairs about 5 years ago, and we just kept carrying that number forward. I can't think of any furniture expenditure, but
Well, there's a little if you
office
need
equipment
to.
was-
Basically, copiers and printers.
which we just replaced last year.
So you have a guarantee on those things.
Yeah, I mean, we would not argue
But it didn't show up.
that was reduced to some degree. I mean,
That
there's
did.
nothing in my mind that I think would go south on us.
Going to remove the,
I moved to remove $1,090.
Second.
Can we have a couple $100 just in case something goes down?
Well, you have $12.50 that you can use
No, that's.
no, that's what was budgeted.
right now. You want it for next year? Well,
Yeah,
then
you're-
a couple $100.
He's already,
Well, just something.
yeah,
contingency,
it's
something.
continue.
I
Okay.
don't know if the
Just
pencil
in case.
sharpeners are gonna go down or what the case may be, but
You're gonna
I
leave
can't even
flat
tell you
zero,
what it
Jackie.
might be.
All right.
So just,
I have no problem giving up 1,000 of the 1250 or.
So reduce it by $800 and
$800, okay.
You're so kind, thank
I
you.
know, I'm so kind. I'm in the giving mood.
I have two more.
Okay.
so you
What are
got
they?
290
First
in
one
there.
is 4210.
4210?
Yeah.
Computer software, he spent 473, he spent 563, he spent 450 this year. Looks like running right 500 or less, and that we cut.
All those are typically tied to ArcView issues with the GIS system. I'll go to 6 or 7, if that's okay, somewhere in there. Is that fair?
Which number are we on?
400.
4210.
Well, he's already spent 450 this year.
Yeah.
How about,
Looking back the past 2 years though, 563, 473. Cut for us, still leaves at 600.
what about minus 350?
Huh?
350. I'd give him 650.
He's got a 1,000 budget, cut 600, well.
Yeah, that leaves him
cut
600 for
400.
next year.
You want to go 400?
Yeah.
Leave it 600, you'd leave it 600.
Okay, that'll give you 600.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I'm-
Cut 400 out of there?
Yes.
Move it.
Okay.
One more. 4440, there's $1,000 for motor vehicle expense. We have budgeted over the last 3 years for a new vehicle for zoning. We've been putting this equipment in place and set aside restricted. This is one we built the money up to be able to buy it. So this should try to eliminate most or all of this. Because a new vehicle will be under warranty for X number of miles or years.
If we get that bought by July 1.
Yep, and that's our plan, is it's programmed to buy before July 1st. So that'll take care of the motor vehicle expense, just your gas, oil, and oil change.
Move we take 500 out of that.
What would you need 500
Okay.
for?
Oil
Just
change.
We don't know.
That's back under gas and oils under line item 2501.
What about flat tires and stuff like that?
That's right. What about flat tires or,
Well, we don't get one.
well, I know, but
Well-
you gotta look
Yeah,
for
but
a
he does a
contingency.
lot of
Dennis, don't
driving. You know,
Yeah,
I,
you really are
That
hard.
tire you get fixed for $20.
You gotta buy a
you do a
new
lot
one.
of driving out in the
You
county,
blow it out,
get flat tires.
but they don't fish them if they're blown out.
Wow.
I would say, take 500 out.
I'd say 500.
Goodness, Dennis, you are so hard.
Can't wait.
I know, but we're doing it.
Oh, yeah, you're doing it.
Okay,
Minus
500.
1,700 total.
Okay, what else?
Would you give me a recap of
Okay, well, what they cut
Here.
was 4210 minus 400.
That's your computer
1,000
software.
to 600, okay.
Yep, 4440 they cut by 500, which would be down to
1,000 to
500.
500.
And then your office equipment,
Went down 800.
6360.
6360
6360 went from 1,092
to 290.
290.
290.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're being generous there.
Yeah, it's being so generous.
Okay,
So 1,700 total.
okay. We're gonna probably schedule a fundraiser for.
We're planning on doing
Flat tire.
Can I go before this?
it. Is there a motion to receive this budget
Motion
as
to read
amended?
as
Is
amended.
there a motion
Okay.
second? And it's
Oh.
to reduce it by 1,700?
Yes.
Those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Those
See you
opposed, same
tonight.
sign. Thanks, John. Township trustees. That's on page 16. By statute, we have to just receive this
That one
budget.
there, no, you cut this one. I got in there, cut. I actually put the number 10,000 based on last year, but when you look back, we spent 6,085. Last year, the updated number for fiscal year 13 was 5,877. So far, we spent 3,021. So it looks like we spent right around 6,500, so I said cut, or I suggest cut 3,000.
What are those expenses for?
Those are township clerks' wages we pay by the hour, and the trustees for their monthly or quarterly meeting, however often they meet.
How much is the actual then over the last couple of years?
The actual in 2012 was 6,085. For fiscal year 13, the updated with period 13 is 5,877. So far, we spent 3,021 this year. So we cut 3, that still leaves 7,000, which would cover, we haven't increased the wages out there.
Are you on page 16?
Yes.
My numbers are different than
There's
yours.
one line item.
Just
Rural
a-
basic.
I hope so.
Are you on 10,000? That's the line he's looking at, top line.
Yeah.
So it's
I had year-to-date spent 3,507, or 3,557.
50, yeah, I updated 5,877, period 13 is in there, so I updated.
What do you have now?
3,021, we got 10,000 budget, so if we cut 3,000 out of it, we leave $7,000, which is more than they spend in all the years. It'll leave you enough money.
Okay, motion.
I would move it then, reduce
Second.
it by 3,000.
No, Denny's numbers are less than mine. He's got period 13 in there.
I updated, and it's 5,877. It was 5,475.
Okay.
Okay, you there?
Anything else in that budget?
How much did you want to cut it?
3,000.
Or you want more?
No.
Okay.
Well, you already spent 3,557.
You spent $3,021 so far this year, past 6 months.
I know, I have 3557 the actual year to date.
Yeah, our numbers aren't the
I
same.
don't know where that number, that's the only number we don't agree on. I don't know where that came from. 3013 is $5,877 for fiscal year 13 after.
13.
But you said 12 and 13 they haven't
So we
spent.
could actually cut out $3,000.
Yes.
And be safe.
We say it's still leaving.
You can if your numbers are right.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Everyone agreement with that? Okay. Do we have a motion to receive that with this reduction?
Move it.
We already have it
We
in a
already have it.
second.
Yeah, we already just had a motion in a second.
Okay.
That's that.
So I got it now.
You got it now. Those of you who motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
General.
Department of Human Services, general basic. You gentlemen just walked in just in time. And that is on page 91 under the general basic.
No,
92.
92, sorry.
Morning.
Morning. On this one here, it came in the same, but it looks like there could be $28,000 worth of reduction because they got less staff there than they had several years ago. You look back on history and you look back at what they're spending now, it's 42,764 halfway through the year. So you doubled that 85,000. If you left 131, that still gives an extra $50,000. So that's what we got.
Okay, so what page are you on? On
92.
92? So you're suggesting that we cut? What line?
28,000 somewhere in that whole budget. And I'll make them 103,000, they're only at 142,700 right now.
They haven't spent any of their furniture budget yet. You spending that later or what?
Yes.
That later?
Spent more later in the year because we stopped up. We don't want to have to come back and ask for more money. So we usually go into the budget year stocked up on supplies and stuff.
Now that bounces up and down.
Supplies would be about 2601. I mean, how many people do you got actually working up there now?
It's about 80 something.
How many did you have before? I thought a bunch moved to Council Bluffs when they did the consolidation.
Well, we have
That's
just as
why
much.
costs went down.
I didn't have a chance to introduce myself. I'm Matt Madsen. I'm the business manager for the service, Western Iowa service area. And Tom Bushka usually comes to see. I know he meets with some of you. Tom's on vacation this week, of all things. We let him take a week of vacation, and he asked that I come. I think I met with you guys maybe 2-3 years ago, and last couple of years, your meetings always conflict with another county. I'm in Storm Lake, for example, at the same time. So glad to be up here. You know, I think if you divide by 2 and move forward that way, the numbers are lower, but traditionally we don't spend, try to spend it, linearly. I mean, just sometimes spend when we have, when we have the need. I think we're grateful, number one, for the space that, we have to work. We have adequate space, we have enough room, for the people that we have, and the county's made improvements. That we had an elevator issue and the repair was taken care of in a real timely manner. A boiler work was done, and we've been capturing all those expenses and making sure you get reimbursed for those. I mean, I know revenue is part of the equation. We'll get to that, I suppose, next after expenses. But we work real diligently to make sure we capture everything you spend out, even things that aren't in this budget, that you get reimbursed for some of those. So we make sure that we capture those. In terms of, and we're asking for the same because, we think, our hope is to come under that, but what we don't want to do is be in a position where, we just cut because right now we're at this number and take it times 2, then have to come back and make a request in March of 15 to say, gee, that really wasn't enough. I think amendments are something I think most counties want to avoid if possible. So that's why, in this year we haven't purchased any equipment. In 13, I'm looking at, historically, in FY13 we spent a little more because we bought some copiers toward that year.
What was the actual that was spent in 13?
I have, mine says 172,448. Is that what you guys are seeing?
No.
Oh.
Our fiscal year on accrual here on 13, we had spent total of 108,184 instead of the 99,449.
108?
108,184 for the whole year.
Okay.
In the year before, the 130, but I thought we had a reduction of people here, Sioux City, some went down.
No, we really haven't had many.
That's what we heard 2 years ago.
When we had a reduction in staff, we were like, I believe, about 170
Here?
for Woodbury County. Not staff, I'm talking about the hours.
How much staff did you have before they did this big consolidation? Where I think our director went to Council Bluffs.
Well, actually, she moved to Des Moines to take that
So
job.
we went from what to 80? We go from 120 people to 80 people? Or 100 people to 80 people, or?
I don't recall.
Yeah, we don't have that exact.
Because there came
We have some fewer people than we did, but that's, our department has, as a service area, we went from about 330 down to 260 people before our 2010 restructure. But since 2010, that number is held relatively steady. We have some fewer now. We just have been able to, we do a little less than we used to in some ways. People had bigger caseloads.
Well, if they dropped it, say 11, say they dropped it to 120,000, that's 11,775 reduction. That's less than you spent this year, 213 by 12,000, or you spent 12,000 less. You're on target 42, which is 88. That still gives you a cushion of 30,000 more to spend. Can we reduce 11,775 down to 120,000 even?
I'd make that motion.
There's a second.
Second, I think you've got the room to do it there. You can take it from wherever you want.
All they'd have to do is come back with what line items they want reduced.
Right. Okay.
We'll work on that.
So we're taking 11,775 out of there.
So the new number's gonna be 120 even.
120 even.
Pen here, Dick.
Those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Anything else?
No, do you want to talk about revenue, or that's not an item you need to, I'm not sure of the process. Some counties want to look and
We
some,
plug in like 270,000, which we're basing on what we got back, so we did cut that way back. And I think we're getting reimbursed on our boilers we put up there.
absolutely.
percentage.
That we amortized because it's,
Right.
that we had to over a 10-year schedule to amortize that.
And what other revenues?
Well, the revenue's built on a few different things, and one is your indirect rate. You guys have a contract with Cost Advisory Services, Inc., out of Waukee to come up with an indirect rate. And the good news for Woodbury County is that indirect rate keeps inching up, and I'm saying inching. You got the, it's gone.
More than inching,
More
huh?
than inching, thank you. It's gone. In FY11, it was 133,000, and then in current year in 14, it's 172,000. That's an amount we take each quarter and tack on to what you spend out directly. And we tack it on to the building expenses we get from the county. They tell us how much here's what it costs to run your building for a quarter. We add all those, plus the amortization schedule.
Right.
So we total all those together, and then the county gets back about a third of that. So that's where that, right now, it was I think 270 is what you're figuring for next year. Now, the problem with figuring that for FY15 is, I don't know what that indirect rate's gonna be for 15 yet. You'll get that probably about the same time we do, because you guys get the schedule. If it goes up, the revenue will go up. Kind of simple as that.
The last 3 years, this year 12, we got 260,740. Fiscal year 13, we got 271,897. We've got 2 payments so far for a total of 135,853. So it looks like the 270, right?
For this year.
And maybe more
yeah.
too.
Maybe more. And if you pin me down, if you wanted to twist my arm and say, "What's your number for 15?" I'd say 240, because I just don't know what the big driver is unknown at this point. We know 2/3 of it, but it's the big amount that makes the difference
What
there.
kind of formula is that based on? A lot of different things?
It's the feds actually reimburse the state of Iowa for eligible activities, and that's the work our social workers do primarily, keeping kids and families safe and together. So they decide that a certain amount of our activities meet their criteria, and so we'll reimburse you on that. So it's basically about a third of what Woodbury spends out. And then if you guys are all astute, you figured out that at least what you spend directly and what you get back in revenue, the revenue outstrips what you spend out directly. Now, you have a lot of indirect expenses we acknowledge for the run of that owning the building and all those sort of things. And they're captured to a degree through the building expenses. So we recognize that. So I'd say, to twist my arm, I'd say 240 for 15, but it could well go higher as soon as we get that number. And I've gotten some of those for some of our 30 counties I work with, but I don't have Woodbury's. Have you seen it?
No.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I'm just going on pretty much.
Yep, that's kind of what we do too.
Pretty close there.
But I really, we talk about not wanting to do an amendment for expenses. Certainly on the revenue side, we don't want to come in and say, oh, by the way, we overshot that by, pick a figure.
Either way, you're not short.
Yeah, but I think that 240 figure can easily manage, and it'll probably outstrip that.
Okay.
So, and I don't know if I have a couple things that I know Tom likes to normally hand out. Let me stop while you change that battery. Okay. And I've opened it to the current page. I know you folks are busy, and I think there should be one for everybody. There's one for Dennis too, I think. This is the short version, the page it's open to. This really represents the work that our income maintenance workers do, the folks who figure the benefits for the food assistance, the family investment, and the Medicaid programs. I'll just jump you right over to, if you want to bottom line it, to the far right side where it says 12-month running total. So basically that's really worked out to be calendar year 13, that there were $27 million in food assistance dollars that came into Woodbury County. So $2.3 million a month on average in the food assistance program came into Woodbury. Family investment, much smaller, about 10% of that, just over $2 million. And that's a direct cash payment to families. And that's been that small probably since President Clinton did the Welfare Reform Act in '96. That hasn't grown much, and that's really runs, like I should say, about 10% of the food, direct food assistance. And most people know, of course, that the food assistance is a USDA program, Department of Agriculture run program. And that rings true. Not that Woodbury doesn't have a lot of farming go on here, but when you're in some smaller counties, when that's what really drives their economy, it's a big deal to remind them that
Will
this
that be the case this next fiscal year, because didn't they separate that out from the farm bill and reduce it by?
That has been reduced, George. Yes, it's been reduced, and I don't know how that could look a little different next year. I think fewer people will be eligible, so I think they've been changing with the eligibility or altering that. Yeah. And then the big amount is dollar amount is Medicaid.
Do you know if it's passed or is it
I don't
think it has.
No. I don't think it has. Sorry. Then Medicaid is really the biggest amount of dollars. $133 million in Medicaid money comes into Woodbury County. And again, that's our workers we're not sending out checks directly here, but payments to hospitals, nursing homes, really are the big drivers. And since you guys are a healthcare center, Woodbury County has the big hospitals here. That's a lot. That drives quite a bit of that. And that's the work our workers do to determine who's eligible. And there are many other pages. I won't take you through all of them, but it's pie charts. We have a guy who's a data whiz, and this has information about Woodbury County, about our service area in general. Probably the biggest amount of Medicaid dollars that comes into our Western Iowa area is at the Glenwood Resource Center, because that's and the Cherokee MHI. Those are pretty much 100% Medicaid.
Woodbury County.
These are Woodbury. This page is Woodbury.
I mean, we're not looking at the tri-state area
or all 30 county area. That's on at the beginning, but I opened you to Woodbury. Yeah, I didn't want to. That's a lot. It is. It's a surprising amount of money, and our workers really are. They do a terrific job. Our income maintenance workers. We do have fewer of those than we did before, but more a little bit. We tried to. With some success, with mixed success, we've improved our data systems, our computer systems to make it better. Sometimes we hit some bumps, and now they're being swamped. A certain number of them we've dedicated to working on the Affordable Care Act, and that's really that computer system isn't the Iowa system and the system that the feds aren't quite communicating, but we're getting piles of applications. We have people set aside dedicated to getting those applications finished, so people can be determined eligible. So we pulled some off of some of this. We'll get them all done, but right now it's the crunch time. Yeah. So.
But I guess what I'm wondering, I know we're the 6th largest county, but are these numbers skewed? I mean, is Woodbury County overall?
I think that may be
receiving a lot of assistance.
We did
more
per
than
capita. I think so. I think Woodbury. I know what you're asking.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
for helping me get that.
I think, relatively speaking, it might even be. I don't know if it's shown in any of these. Yeah, go to that. I think it's the final page. It's the last page before. Before it turns back over to page 1. It's got a bar across the top. It's yellow, and about the 5th column, the 5th row across. That's persons below poverty level for a 5-year period from 2008 to 12. And Woodbury County is at 15.2%, and Iowa in general is at 12.2%. So that's.
Thank you.
I
guess that was the information I was wondering.
Yeah, and I think that is true. And and that tends to happen, in more metropolitan areas. Probably if you looked at Polk County, it would be the same. Black Hawk, Potawatomi, Scott, Lynn counties, probably be about similar. So I don't know how those compare specifically to.
I'm just wondering in the 6 largest counties how we compare in our income. I suspect it's lower, but our poverty level is higher. But I don't know. I'm just.
The ones I named would be pretty high. Black Hawk probably has issues. Yeah, they are. Woodbury's, Blackhawk County is probably about 100 and, I think the Waterloo Cedar Falls area is 110,000 thereabouts, and then I'm not sure what the rest of the county comes up with. And Woodbury's a little bit bigger than Potawatomi, by about 10,000 people.
Okay.
So probably more than you were looking for, but we appreciate what
Good, I appreciate it.
Yeah, Tom, he sends his apologies that he couldn't make it. We appreciate what you give us to work, and Dick really manages our budget here, so we'll work to keep this. And if we run into issues, we'll let you know. But
Well, I appreciate him too. I mean, he works directly with us in
Yeah.
a number of different ways. And he really assists a lot of families in collaboration with a lot of different agencies in the community. So he does a good job.
I'll give him, I know he's up here quite a bit.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll tell him, he's either here, when he's in council with us, we ask him, what are you doing here today? Don't you go to Des Moines or Sioux City or something? Because you're here pestering us, we're trying to get our work done.
He's doing a great job. Thanks, Jeff.
Can you just email those changes?
Yes.
Thanks. How much?
120.
11,175.
Reduction.
And we did vote on that, I think. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on to item number J, which is district health, and then I think after that we'll take about a 5 or 10 minute break and come back and get the others.
What time is our meeting? 1:30?
Kevin, no.
What's that?
Yeah, it's now you on the.
I think we just keep going, but.
Yep.
So you're come under general basic and page 91.
We make an allocation to them.
Yeah, we make an allocation.
They say a 0% increase with a 1.5% wage increase. So we're up just a little bit.
And,
Oh, I better get in the
do you
race.
have any additional information you need?
No, basically Dennis covered the base. We put in a 1.5% is what we planned at this point within the fiscal starting July 1st. We kept within the 0% operational costs. And then with this, I guess we're looking at just about $15,000 in minor building modifications as the need would come, is what we budgeted in, but we attempted to comply with what your request was, and so that's probably the numbers that are presented in front of you.
Move to receive.
I would second it. Any further discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Did you
do a good
bring
job
a
up
check
there,
along?
Kevin.
What's that?
You do a good job for us up there too, Kevin.
Thank you.
You know, the repairs and upkeep of the building and that kind of thing, we diminish our costs by not having, our staff or contracting out two other entities, so.
Forget all the accolades. Did you bring a check with you?
Did I bring a check with me? Not yet.
He will though.
It's on our meeting agenda in February.
Okay.
Thank you.
You bet, thank you.
Let's take a.
Thanks, Kevin.
recess and, we'll go-
Let's just,
We've got a meeting in Lamar's at 1:30.
At 1:30 will be done.
let's keep going. Let's get her done.
Okay,
Unless you have to go to the boys' room.
Well, let's take a 5.
We're not concerned about you.
5 minutes.
oh, my battery's ready.
5 minutes.
That's why you're so quiet. I'll look it up on the computer tomorrow. Sorry, I must be a hard ass or something, but we've got to come up with cuts somewhere. Our past budget, 10,000 for training to be an internal auditor. But he may say the code says we shall, but every auditor, basically every auditor state doesn't even know it exists. Second, why would they go out and do internal investigator audits on other departments under the board or other elected officials? I think you're just asking for bloody nose. You're asking for something you really don't want to have.
If we need something, we can just contract out.
Contract with Williams Company. Now, if it says we aren't doing fixed assets, that's the responsibility of the board, and we'll take care of it. And we'll start with his office, what we're going to be unannounced. That way they can't go out and grab something to replace it.
Would be the hard ass to say all that.
No, George will. I'll talk to George about it, yeah. But we got to cut somewhere. And this guy gotta go.
I think I'll offer your salary up.
Go ahead, you've done that many times. Fortunately, I still get a little check.
What are you laughing about?
Yeah, you're second on the list, but he can't touch
When
you.
you're lower on the totem pole, you know what's gonna happen.
He can't touch you though.
And why is that?
His percentage, you can't, his percentage after you do. He's locked.
George, I was gonna ask you if you could re-sign, did you sign on the line where Pat's supposed to sign?
Oh.
We need to have you sign
Canvas.
on the bottom line.
Canvas holder. Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
You got everything here? Which was up?
Yeah, the other things I had were all signed correctly.
Okay.
Was that the deal, he had to sign the wrong line? That's what I thought, that's the only thing I could find that I thought.
Okay, sorry, you got everything here.
Thanks, George.
Okay, those other ones laying on my desk, then for you to sign.
Okay.
Did you get my email? Oh, Jessica really would like you to call her when you get done.
Okay.
She'd like to come over and do this.
All right.
I do have a bit of a cold, so.
I don't know if you saw that, but that's the blow of those districts in town.
Oh, yeah, that,
What happened to Stephanie today? She's on vacation. They gave her vacation?
Yeah.
To Puerto Rico.
Went where? What's that?
She went to Reno?
Puerto Rico.
Oh, wow. I want to see her say something about that.
it is, it's a lot of good.
Last Wednesday, I up in that township trustees, we were talking about putting together a school for them. They did update the township trustee manual. So if we do a
There is a
school-
new one?
Yeah, there's a new one. So we purchased those, but since that was last year, I was concerned about that, but since it's next, we're do a school this year, get it by, it purchased those down inside of that budget.
How much are they, please?
Gal has an style. I'm gonna try
We
to
got
send-
money this year, we got.
Right.
Good, good, good.
I'm trying to contact her. She hasn't responded.
Are you going up there or are you sitting
I'm
there?
gonna sit here and go
Okay, let's reconvene the meeting, going through the county auditor's budget, under the general basic, and we have the
What page is that?
117, 119.
This is a report.
Recorder's vital statistics budget.
Hello, hello. Hi.
Hello, Diane.
Well, welcome.
Just to start off, you know, they're having, they had a new employee come down. I did not have the three other departments that actually budget money that's gonna pay us back for revenue. So I did increase the revenue by 17,068, which would be 3 times that. As revenue come back, offset this expense.
You mean 17,000, 51,000?
Right.
Increase the revenue. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, there are 2 other entities that's gonna be paying the expense for that,
Right.
that's assessor's office, county assessor, Sioux City, city of Sioux City.
Right.
That's for the employee.
That's for the employees.
Right. I have it as proposed, but we'll switch it up and split it all out.
Okay.
At the point in time we did this, they're still back and forth a little bit that.
Jean is telling me she's talked to you about the difference in, have to be a new category or something there. But you do have the expenses.
Yeah, the total's in there that we need, yeah. It's just how we want to split it out. If we have a different line item, or if he's union person, or wage plan.
I mean, it'll be close enough because it might have to be, depending on what they do with that budget.
Right.
That person could be moving from upstairs to your office
Right.
physically, and you have to.
Do you understand what's going on, Mark? All right. Everybody knows? For the public, what is, there was an employee that was being paid out of the city assessor's office that did mapping, essentially does what we do in pencil over on the other side for the plat maps. And this person has been doing it for the electronic version, the online version of those maps. And he has been paid out of the city assessor's office. What we're doing is just transferring down here, it's supposed to be revenue neutral, transferring into our office, and he'll continue to do the same duty, so it should be the same expenses that the county has been put forth for that.
Okay. Do we need a separate motion on this GIS?
No.
No.
Okay, we'll receive that.
It's painful to buy 3 microfilm recorders.
Pardon?
It's painful to have to buy 3 microfilm
Well,
readers.
the 2 projects that you folks have passed, the COP project and the PFA, the only piece of the pie we have left to do is vital records. And as soon as we do the microfilm and vital records, you can say bye-bye to those readers because we won't have any need for them.
Right.
So I'm hoping by maybe the end of 14, early 15, we won't have to do that for the next fiscal year. That'll save you probably close to $10,000 a year, because not only is this just the maintenance cost for the machines, we have to purchase the actual toner for the little laser jets, and they run about $140 each.
I have a question.
Yes?
Now, I thought this was the actual purchase of those readers. That's just a maintenance?
Rental maintenance.
Can you pay that out of this year's budget? Because you haven't spent hardly anything.
Because it comes in the spring. They always come in the spring. It comes in the spring, about March or April.
So you've got a payment coming in March or April, and then you'll have another payment in March or April of next year.
Yes, sir.
Kind of like fixing my 8-track stereo.
So that one of those.
At least we're not doing that.
Is there a motion to receive the?
Move it.
orders?
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The administrative,
Thank you.
the administration, 133, page 132.
What page are we on?
131 and 132, it says.
Yeah, that's just what it says in my book.
It's actually page 129, 130. 129, 130.
That discussion we had earlier this morning, Denny, this is another one of the,
Okay, any points of discussion on this budget?
is it 127, 128?
129, 130. The 0019011.
It's hard to complain it went down.
Not yet. Just a moment. I have a question on, Brad, on 4201, special services, $10,000 there. What's, we haven't spent.
I didn't think you'd see that.
Well, there was I see 0000, and then year-to-date 112, money spent there, and then $10,000. That's quite a...
$10,000 is the professional services that we put in there because of a new duty that was given to the auditor's office. And can't really say it as a duty, but it is a May that has been been added to the
Not a must,
auditors.
it's just a May?
Yes,
Okay.
it's just a May. And what it entails is it says a May audit. Now, that is something that the auditors, for years, we had questioned why we were even called auditors because we didn't have the ability to audit. With the change in the law, it said that the auditor's office may audit county funds, any funds. And it's a double-edged sword when it says may. It says that you don't have to do this, but you can do this. And so that we couldn't do any internal auditing or any of that sort of thing. And I'm not a CPA, and Gene is not trained to be a CPA either. But some of the things, even if you look in third when you got your financial report, is the auditors don't, when they come in, they don't audit every single piece of documentation that goes through the auditor's office. So there's a couple different things that are decided. Something comes in and the auditor's office says, well, this raises a red flag. We would have the ability to go and question, ask for documentation for the expense of those funds, but we're really not trained to do that. So that's what I put in there is for $10,000 is for training and also the ability to engage an audit firm in order to do some sort of internal audit. That's why it's put in there. I'm asking you for the money. I've covered my money. When it comes to it is that, because I do have the ability to do this now, is that if something occurs and the public comes to me and says, write an issue, I ask for the ability to do it. That's what this is all about.
Well, it sounds like it's new legislation. Thing that I have is that, we do have an audit firm that does, our audit on a manual basis. And then we have we have a lot of backups to look at, the vouchers and whatever in the various departments, and particularly in your department and then in our department here to do a lot of that, so.
Unlike a lot of the smaller counties that don't have the luxury of having like a budget analyst like we do too. I know the smaller counties, the auditor does kind of run the county, it seems like to me, in the smaller ones. But I think do you see any chance that may be removed this year from the legislation? I know it was sort of controversial, I thought, last year that it was stuck in right at the last minute. Do you see that being removed, Pat?
I do not think it's going to be removed. The House Republican who put it in, he was very proud of the fact that he got it. I don't think it's going to. One of the things that I'm also concerned with is our financial policies. When we first put those into effect, it was said that we don't want to implement policies that are just going to sit on the shelf.
Right.
I know there are things that we are not doing that we should be doing, and we don't have the manpower to do it.
Well, unfortunately, this is in our general basic fund where we're
Let's
in trouble.
revisit this again next year. I don't want to, this year is just too tight to put something like that in.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, if we're going to move on each of these various items, I'd make it a motion.
You make a motion to reduce by 10?
Yeah, I don't know what the 112 that was in there is.
I'd second it if you need one.
Is there anything else in this budget?
Travel expense and meal expense. don't spend enough money in those line items.
This is it's for Gene and the other auditor staff for training. Gene doesn't go to the money that hasn't been spent is that she doesn't go to until June. She attends the what's the name?
SUGA, S-U-G-A. It's like the hug.
Went from hog to sugar, but it's H. The other thing that I would caution you on is that Gene is transitioning. Dennis is cooperating with us as far as assuming the duties of the auditor is supposed to be performing when it comes to the tax side of things. Dennis has been working very hard with Gene to do that. There's also some training that's been involved. I know we are going to take one trip to Spencer for additional training there. Also anticipate that there's going to be some that are going to be involved with the advent of the new property tax structure that Gene is going to be needing more training to deal with that.
That's good. I'm glad that we're getting a little backup on that. And I know I talked to Dennis about it, and he said Gene has just done such a nice job, and they've worked well together. So.
And I appreciate all that, except we're not spending the money.
It's like cyclical, it comes at the end of the year.
Well, it didn't come at all last year. We got spent $950.
$985.
Yeah, and in the meal expense, we spent $57.
Let me get period 13 here, because that might be one of the changes. I know it's the end of the year.
You're talking about travel expenses,
Travel expenses after period 13 was $1,800. Meals was $188. Parking, forget that. The travel and meals was $1,800 to $188. So it does come at the end of the year.
Yeah, but we're budgeting $4,some $100 for that. For those two items.
Okay. About 4,000.
I move we take 1,000 out of travel and probably 500 out of meals. And if we're wrong, I'm sure we'll hear about it.
Well,
Patrick?
I would second that, right, unless Gene is going to really go and get some more training on taking over that tax part or learning that. I know that's so comprehensive.
She needs to go to ISAC, and I talked to Solutions. They said it'd take 5 years to go through the cycle, enough time to really know. It is going to take time, and she is doing a great job at it. She's very more detailed than I am on that kind of stuff. You know, where you can pick up a manual and you sit down, probably at least work your way a bit through it. But it's going to take time, and she's going to need extra training above and beyond that for that side where this money will come out of here. And school instruction for fees for the classes.
So what's going to occur is ISAC is already doing that. There are some meetings that both Dennis and Gene have missed already. Property tax, commercial reform.
Well, can we put
But
Dennis's
that's
out
up
of
to the
yours
elected
since he's
official.
training her?
No, it is not.
If you want to send your people someplace,
Well, I understand that. But that's what you're talking about. You're taking away my ability to send people.
but you haven't used it.
And I'm telling you, things have changed.
I still would like to take 1,000 and 500.
I just started training her in December. There's a lot to it.
Well, until I get a couple other heads to nod up and down, it doesn't make any difference.
Okay.
I can't second that.
You can't second it?
No.
You can't. I don't think you have support to cut that.
I
Well,
had
we'll
that
see what it is
feeling.
next year. If you don't use it, then we'll cut it, I guess.
Okay, any other areas in this budget?
Move to receive with the 10,000 reduction.
There's a second.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. General supplement, election and administration. Election and administration. That's page 2930 on the general supplement. Concerns on this budget?
Now, you won't have a postage expense like he did on these other elections, because in elections general, the parties pretty much take care of that with absentee. They mail out pretty much everybody something. Is that right, Pat? Before, you're, like in your city or schools, we're sending out some.
No, we're talking about administration.
Right. But where did that come out of elections, or did that come out of administration?
Comes out of both.
Okay, okay.
4201, you can cut out everything out of that except 2012, you spent 13,000 and nothing in 2013, nothing in, you don't propose anything for 2014, you cut, that's for professional services.
Professional services, I believe what we had in there was when they had the guys from ES&S come in and help work with me. Also, that was back when Vicki was training me.
Okay, so that's what that area is. So you're
trained now, huh?
You're trained now.
You don't need any help.
Hopefully I can take care of the questions over the phone.
13, they spent 2142.
2142.
Yeah, they spent all toward the end of the year.
Okay.
How about 4020, typing, printing, and binding?
They spent 18,300
Already, today.
for last fiscal year 13.
They've
Should be
only,
like
Third
we have-
one there, they spent 18,300.
When we have to print up additional affidavit envelopes for our absentee mailings
that
that go
come
out,
from?
which we're gonna have to print more of those before the the June primary election.
What we do is typical of what the departments do is we determine at the end of the year how much printing and typing we can get done within our budget. So that's what we spend at the end of the year.
So they've already spent 1,800?
That was last year, 18,300.
we've only got 5,000 in there.
Yeah.
I realize that, but that's what they spent. And they did use other line items, because when you go back to the end, you still have 1,600 left over. Now, that's the advantage of, for any department, you know, can overspend a line item as long as you don't go over the bottom. They did stay within there, so they actually overspent here, but they had money in other areas to take from to cover it, which is totally legal.
All right, and maintenance contracts.
We've got our maintenance contract, it'll be coming due, I think it's next month, for all of our ES&S equipment.
What we did there is maintenance contracts, and we shuffled some around. The year that you cut money out of our budget, we pushed it off to another year and spent it. What we did, what was not in there, which will be in next year, is a new maintenance contract for the 850 that we just purchased. We didn't have to have it in this year. That was one of the things that we spent, where we spend money in the typing and binding line item, because the machine is under warranty this year. Next year, we're not going to have to have a maintenance contract for the 850 and other equipment that is coming on.
So there's going to be a $30,000 or $40,000
At the end of the year.
Yes.
coming back into the reserves?
No, they'll be spending a lot of this maintenance contracts at the end of the year.
No.
I've got an invoice for a little over $35,000 that'll be coming through in the next week for our maintenance contracts on our M100s and our Automarks. That'll be in this year, for this year's maintenance. That's why.
We'll get bumped up because of the 850 that we purchased this year. There's not a maintenance contract this year because it's new, it's under warranty. Next year, we will have a maintenance contract, so that will bump that back up to what that figure has been.
But there was no savings this year.
I guess he said he's gonna spend it.
We should have a savings of about $5,400 this year because we sold our two 650 machines, and the maintenance contract we don't have to have on the two 650s, but like Pat said, our 850's under warranty this year, and next year we'll have to come up with the money for a maintenance contract on the 850.
And the maintenance contract on that is how much?
On the 850? I think it's around $12,000 for the year.
What do we spend for the machine?
I think that was around 212,000
Like a machine,
for the 850.
120,000.
Was it?
Was it? It was 120,000.
We bought that this year out of CIP.
No, what I'm questioning, Pat, is should we be buying maintenance contracts? If you're talking 10% of the purchase price, that's pretty stiff.
Yeah, I'll go around to come and work on it. That's what the maintenance contract does, they come and service it twice a year or once a year.
Once a year. They come in and clean and service and make sure everything's working properly on it, so that hopefully on election day, we don't have a problem.
Board goes down.
You probably have to have them, but it's sure
I think so.
in all areas with anything electronic, those maintenance contracts. I think there's money in that.
Yeah,
I mean,
for the firm.
that'd be a good business if you ever want to get out of
But
politics.
it's a necessary evil that you have to have.
I think it is in this.
It's going to break down.
Yeah, it sure is going to get service. If you don't have a maintenance contract and John Dover has a maintenance contract, guess who gets served first? There's a little priority on all this too. When you
Where you
need
buy
help,
'em.
you need help. Sorry.
I wouldn't get it there. Anything else on this budget? Is there a motion to receive it?
Move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Okay, the next one you don't have to worry about because there's no expenses. That primary in June, they pay rate increase.
So we just moved to receive that budget
You don't have to
anyway?
do anything. There's zeros.
There's zeros.
It really shouldn't be on here.
What about general?
General election, that's, comes every 2 years and
Yeah.
you gotta run elections, so you're pretty,
What page is that?
that is
Third,
at 33,
34,
34.
yeah.
Which should be the general election in November and you look back 2 years ago, it was 232,000, almost 233. And it's actually over here, the presidential, which still have a pretty good turnout.
Are you back to precincts in that election again?
Yes, the law requires us to open all the poll places.
Move we receive.
Okay.
Second.
Discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Page 36, 37 is zero. That shouldn't be on there either. That's two elections.
What about special elections, 38, 39?
Nothing there.
So that should be eliminated too.
The only thing that might happen, if you ever call a countywide election, say the board does for some specific purpose, they'll wrap the budget money and we're responsible for it.
It's your pleasure, whatever you want to do. What happens if you have a special election, so if you choose to leave it the way it is, but not bring it there, then if we have a special election, we just have to amend the budget and we spend it out of the budget. But we never tax for the special election because we spend for that out of reserves, or if an entity calls for an election, they have to pay for it.
Themselves.
Right. So it's revenue neutral unless the state, and one time, it happened, one time since I've been there, where they called for a special election. That we have to pay for.
The next two elections are zeros.
Move we receive.
Yes.
Clarify, the general election will take place in June, that's in the current fiscal year, so that's why that's not.
Yeah, it's the primary election, that's where I take place. Right.
Going for Republican, US Senate and all that.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
That's in the current fiscal year. Okay.
Yep.
To the city, special and
Not doing anything with those.
anything with those.
Yep.
Okay, non-taxed funds, that's the record management.
All we do there is budget the money that's carried over, and it's his discretion to spend it how he, and he has spent some of the records management, new program or new
Those
program.
projects that we've been doing to convert records.
That's exactly what the money's for.
So do we, yes, we can
We just
receive
pass them and receive them.
Move to receive them.
Second.
discussion. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Any other, that's the last of
That's
the
it.
budgets for the day. What, give us a summary.
One time, I have it right here.
What we did today.
What we basic, with the new revenue, the GIS, we gained $79,479. General supplemental with the two changes in StarCom emergency services, we gained $177,973. In rural basic, we gained to zoning and townships $4,700. Those are all gains. General basic isn't really gain on tax asking because we're short there to begin with. General stuff is, rural basic is.
So we have, next week we'll have some additional budgets to go through, which brings basically to the end of it.
The end of the first round, then the second round starts. And we'll probably have the sheriff on the end of next week's round to finish, him up. Or finish them up at a certain point, you may have to review, we don't know all of them.
Yeah.
Depends where you want to be.
Okay.
Bringing the sheriff back next Tuesday.
I think so, isn't it? We aren't done with the overtime.
Yeah, if we got enough time to do it.
Right.
It's next Tuesday, we'll go.
Back on to look at some additional overtime.
What are the major departments
Next
next week?
Tuesday.
Is that secondary?
Still.
That would be the major one.
Major ones left, we do have mental health, but that's pretty much a locked-in levy. So now we back, unfortunately, back into it. Secondary roads, we back into that too. Let me tell you which
That'd
one.
be juvenile detention, we haven't done that one yet.
Juvenile detention is up.
I think
There
we're
was
those.
juvenile detention, county mental health, our non-counties, agents, social service agencies that are non-mandated, purchase services, youth guidance service, area roads, roadside management, and that's pretty much it. Oh, non-tax funds and CIP and equipment replacement. And the sheriff.
You'll discuss the rough content of the CIP next week.
Yes. Or we're budgeting the money.
Okay, anything else?
I got one thing here.
Yeah.
We're gonna pass this out. This came from Veterans Affairs here. And what it is, we cut them back to 50,000 last year, small over there, just 1%. We did come back from whatever number to 50,000 because this last year they spent 41,000. She made the comment up here because it went down to 41, that there's a lot less people requesting, or different things, the demands aren't that great, but they want to move it back up to 65,000. My thoughts are, the board just set the total amount, leave it at 50, because we did promise them pretty much that if they do run short, the board isn't gonna push 8 off from the vets. They're gonna help them, period. But the history, and she did make the comment that it slowed way down through different changes in the last year. You can see by their numbers here on the front page, gone from 70s to 41. And that is through period 13. And this year they're spending about that pace again. So
So do we need to put her back on the budget to?
probably need to put her on next week to tell her what you want to do.
Okay. We'll do that.
And that's all general basic.
Yeah. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. We adjourn.